We will start now. Mute your microphone during this show, please. We will record the show and upload it later to the ACE Network YouTube channel. Please use the chat to type your questions. If you experience connection problems, enable your low bandwidth mode and reduce video quality. Thank you so much for waiting. Again, welcome all to, give me a second, to the 23 episode of STEM Girls Talk Show. And I welcome Dr. Linda Opoy. Thank you so much for your participation. We are very happy and glad to have you here. Now, I will proceed to read a brief introduction. Women, as we know, are no less than any men in any field. Over time, we have seen several examples of women excelling in various STEM fields and serving the society for the larger cause. We at the STEM Girls Initiative aim to groom girls with the same kind of inspiration and feel hard to excel in STEM fields and do their best. This talk show is a platform for the women in STEM to talk to girls aspiring to excel in it. We are sure that after hearing from our guests, all the audience will be inspired to reach the stars. During this talk show, we will be conversing with a woman in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. A woman who has made her mark and now has graciously taken the time to tell us about her journey and share with us her wisdom. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being here. Now, it's time to talk about our guest. Our guest today is Linda Aurelia Fori. Dr. Linda Fori is a senior lecturer from the Department of Theoretical and Applied Biology, who named Ruma, sorry if I am reading wrong the name, University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana, with a BSc in Biological Science, MSc in Environmental Science, and a PhD in Molecular Bacteriology and Infection from the University of Copenhagen, Denmark. She has supervised and co-supervised the research projects of 5 PhD students, 30 MSc students, and 160 undergraduate honor students. She is a member of the prestigious Ghana Young Academy, Danish International Development Agency, DANIDA, and also a founding member of We STEM GA, Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics in Ghana. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being here. Now it's time to start.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. May we start with the question?
Sure.
Okay.
I think we can start.
Perfect. Thanks. The first thing I'd like to ask you is to tell us what your field is and what got you interested in it.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me on your show. I must say that I'm super excited. I had read a lot about AGE network, and I've been admiring from afar. So when I got contacted, I was just like, oh, it's a very good opportunity to also bless the numerous young girls who are trying to also get into STEM. My field actually is microbiology on a general sense. And microbiology is just the science of studying these small living creatures which we cannot see with our eyes that could be either beneficial or harmful to us. So basically, that is what my field is. But then I had to move through different areas just to get to where I am today. So I'm a biological scientist from my first degree, which is basically learning about life, studying life and the living organisms, their life cycles, and their environment, and their adaptations. That's basically what biological sciences is about. And then environmental science is where you are looking at the environment in general in relation to the lives that are found in the environment. And then I zoomed in to look at bacteria, which is a very minute living organism all around us, but we cannot see with our naked eyes. So I try to delve more into the small creatures and to study more about them. So that's basically what my field or career is about.
Thank you. Um, I must say that your field is very interesting, and I think that there are so many things to work on.
Yes.
Now, following up the previous question, how are biological science, environmental science, and molecular bacteriology and infection related to each other?
Like I said, that the baseline is all biological science. Biology is a basic field of science. So where you are looking at life forms, you are looking at their relationship with the environment where they find themselves. And so I had to start with a basic science, which is biology, and just not looking at human beings, but we're looking at plants, we looked at animals, we looked at even smaller creatures like those that we find at the bottom of the ocean. We learn about things to do with aquatic or water environment. We looked at the air, we looked at plants. So biological sciences is basically the basis of life. And then when you move into environmental science, which is a branch of biological science, then you tend to go and look at the environment as we see it. So we are looking at ecology, like you're looking at how plants and animals coexist. You are looking at how human beings coexist with the other living things, where we look at that's for environmental science. And then you can also go down, lower down to look at these germs, what we term as germs, and how they relate with their environment. So it's all to do with the physical environment we see and the ones we cannot see and how life forms relate with it. But when we talk about molecular bacteriology, then now we have shifted from looking at the living things that we see to the living things we cannot see, these germs, which we call bacteria. And so I look at bacteria as a group of living things or living forms that we cannot see with our eye, but still exist amongst us and have an environment of their own, which could be our body, or could be the body of an animal, or it could be the surface of a table, or the door handles, or it could be any surface at all. These germs, or what we call bacteria, can live there and that becomes their environment. If they are causing disease in us, then I'm delving much more into their life forms and looking at how they affect us or how we can benefit from them. So, the basis of all these three fields of my study is the biological sciences, from which the others have branched out.
Okay, thank you so much. As I said before, that sounds interesting, but complex at the same
Very
time.
complex, yes. At a point, it's complex, yes.
Yes, but I think that it has a lot of importance in our daily life.
Yes.
Okay, and now, like talking about women in STEM, what does it mean for you to be a woman in STEM and in your sector in particular?
Um, for me, as a woman in this field, I feel proud. I feel happy. I feel challenged, and I must say that I'm in a position where I can encourage a lot more young women to be or better than me. And so it's a mixture of feelings to be in this field because STEM in itself is not an easy terrain for young women to rise in, especially because of all the notions that people have. But I think that for me as a woman in this area, I feel that I feel happy for myself and also happy that I am here, at least to be an encouragement for other people to challenge them that they can also make it.
Thank you. And I also think that it's very important to have women in this sector because this causes like the inclusion of female perspective in important topics,
Yes.
like for
Yeah.
making decisions. Okay. In the previous episodes of our show, we have hosted several speakers in fields of STEM. They told us that in their fields, the percentage of male students and professionals is usually like higher than the percentage of females. Would you say is the same in your sector?
Yes, I think it's the same. It's the same. We have more men in the field of microbiology than you would have women. Of course, we have our fair share of women in the field, but compared to the men, we'll say the men are more than us. Because looking at my department, for example, if we put ourselves together, we have more males than females. Yes, and it will translate into other institutions.
Thanks. Exactly. Sometimes, usually, the society gets confused and denies the importance of reducing the gender gap when they see women in STEM fields, like for example in medicine with the doctors. But I think that they don't know, um, like they don't see the problem because they are used to see women in this sector, but the reality is that less than the 24% of them have the leadership roles, which I think is very unacceptable.
You're right. You're right. I mean, it's like that. That people say it's a man's world, so you definitely will have the men, and I think that it's been that for a long time, and it's just it's become like the norm where you have more males in STEM than female, which shouldn't be. And sometimes it's hard to take it that when you are starting school, you have the young girls are so brilliant, they are so active, they are, of course, being I mean, when you have to take the top 10 in the class, you definitely would have probably 6 out of 10 of them being women. But along the line, then the women fall off and then it becomes a man's world. It's quite unfortunate, but that is what we are faced with.
Mm. Now, talking a little bit about the past, what about when you were a student? Have you ever felt peer pressure, especially when because you are a woman? And if so, what advice would you give to young women who wish to study STEM subjects?
Thank you. I think that this question, like peer pressure. In growing up, I think that for me, I happen to have come from a home where my mother was a teacher, my father was an engineer, and being the first girl of 6 girls, um, I had younger siblings who put together 6 girls and boys as well. And so I had that thing from home where you are encouraged to be what you wanted to be. And so I didn't get pressured because I was a woman not to do what I wanted to do. I rather got encouraged. And as I went through school, I happened to be a very independent person. I I was raised to speak for myself. I was raised to think like a man, let me put it that way, because you cannot just survive if you decide to quell yourself. I'm naturally an extrovert, and I really speak out more. And so I had a voice of my own, and I happened to have teachers who also believed that I could make it. And so they also encouraged me and gave me the opportunity. So I would not say that I suffered pressure when I was in school. Um, and so I wouldn't be able to speak to that more because I didn't suffer it. Although I had other friends who felt pressured not to get into a certain program just because, from home, the fear that when you get into a STEM field, people or men would fear you and think that you are too independent minded. And in an African culture where people did not understand career in science, they would refer to you as, all sort of weird names. And people even went to the extent of telling you that if you pursue science, you probably will not get married, you will not get time to have children. And so all of these things put pressure on people, and also because STEM fields were basically made up of men, and the few women who were there were seen as quote unquote witches. That's how they would refer to you. That that woman is too I-read, like you are too hard, you are too boisterous, and all of them put pressure on people. But I didn't suffer that. No.
Okay, thank you. And now, how can you encourage girls to be more interested and be at the forefront of STEM?
For me, I feel that some people think that young girls don't get into STEM fields because of lack of confidence. But I differ from that mentality. I feel that young women are very confident. The only thing that is lacking is the fact that we are probably not encouraging them more, especially against the era or the culture of gender inequality, or let me put it as a discrimination or some kind of stereotyping. And so young women need encouragement. For me, I would advise that just like you are doing by getting them exposed to STEM and STEM fields, it's a very good thing. We will need to encourage them more to be able to take up the challenge of doing whatever they want to do. And sometimes also it's because they do not know. Most people only hear of engineering. Most people would hear about being a doctor. Maybe you are a pharmacist. That's the only few STEM areas that people know. As for mathematics, people feel that, to be a mathematician is something that is not for a woman. But I think that when women are exposed to some of these programs and given the opportunity to learn, given the opportunity to get the exposure, then they will be encouraged to get into STEM. I also would wish that apart from exposing them to STEM, that they are encouraged to participate in programs. So like if there's any special program that would, like a talk show like this, if someone participates in hearing or listening to it, or if there is a webinar or a conference, or what will I say, any of these programs, like a program where young girls have gathered and are being having guests that would encourage them. If they are introduced to such, then they get encouraged. What we are doing back home here in my institution with the Women in Science is that we have what we call Girls Camp, where every year we bring the young girls into residence on campus, take them around, give them small projects. And so since we started, every year the number is going up because they feel it's an opportunity for them to get close to something they probably didn't even think of. And most of them, their minds have changed concerning the things that they thought they couldn't do, that they could do it. And then I think that we need to also create the learning opportunities for them. If we do that, the young women will take up the challenge and then they would move with it. Mentorship is also another, because if you have a mentor, the young people will call it a role model. In the current dispensation, people are looking at celebrities as role models just because they appeal to their, probably appealing to their minds. But in the same way, when we have STEM, people in STEM who could stand as mentors or who could be role models, there's a difference between the two. Yes, I don't want to go too much into that. But if we have someone who is your mentor, who will guide you in your career path or in your process of thinking as to where you want to go, I think that's also another way of encouraging young girls to get into STEM. And once we are educating them and giving them all these opportunities, I think that they would pick up the challenge.
Thank you so much. It was a very interesting perspective. Now, um, well, thank you for the previous responses. And like you mentioned a little bit about this, but do you know of any scholarship or support programs for young students offered by institution or any institution relating to your field?
Um, I think that for KNUST, we have the Mastercard Foundation. I think it's the biggest funder of young people. It's not only for women, but of course they give women, I think, a lot more priority than the men. But Mastercard Foundation is giving fully funded scholarships to young girls who are brilliant but needy, as a way of encouraging them into STEM fields. And the percentage for women is much more than the percentage for the young men, at least just to bring them to some kind of a level of being equal. And this kind of scholarship is giving, so it pays tuition, they pay your stipend, they pay for accommodation on campus. In fact, they take care of almost everything of the students for the duration of the study of whatever programs that they want to take up. Beside that, I know that there is other organizations that are funding young people, especially women, into STEM fields, like the Ghana National Petroleum Company, that also supports a lot of girls and a lot of young people into STEM fields. Beside that, I think the African Women Bank or something of that sort, and some other bodies also support within the university.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those support programs. Now, since you are an expert in molecular bacteriology and infection, which pertains to identifying various bacterial pathogens and how they cause various diseases, we had like to ask you some questions specifically related to your field of work.
All right.
First, what are the interesting projects you have worked on that can help us understand how researchers in molecular bacteriology contribute to solving today's problems, like, for example, malnutrition, HIV, and other diseases? And with this, do you think women and girls are generally the more exposed to this kind of problem?
I think that in my field of study, I've done quite a number of research works into bacteria, and I think the most recent one that I'm still working on is looking at salmonella infections in humans, and salmonella in poultry and other livestock and animals that are at home and in the farms. Salmonella causes diarrhea. It causes a type of it causes typhoid fever. It causes bacteremia, which is infections of the system, the body system. It also affects animals as well. And in fact, human beings can get infected by eating infected animals that carry the organisms. And so we studied that, and in fact we are still studying it in Ghana and in Tanzania, where we are trying to see whether these bacteria, salmonella, we are looking at campylobacter, a lot of different types of bacteria that can be found in chicken, in sheep, in goats, that we keep at home. You know, in the African setting, people have what we call backyard farms, where they keep these animals. They are close to home. They are fed from home. They are locked up in the night, or sometimes they are on free range moving around, and they defecate around us. We have children playing in the ground. They pick up some of these organisms. They come home with it. And if they do not keep a good personal hygiene, chances are that they will bring these organisms home, and then they get to infect other children and infect the parents as well. And so we try to look at these organisms and trace whether what we are seeing in the human beings have come from the animals that we are close with, or the animals we are feeding ourselves with, or we are keeping at home, and then to see whether these animals that we have identified are carrying certain mechanisms that makes them not to get treated with medication. You know, when you get diarrhea, in the African setting, we just would walk up to a pharmacy shop or a dispensing technician to give you medicine. You take the medicine and you should get better. But now people take these medicines and they do not get better because the organisms have grown resistant. So they are putting up a mechanism of pushing out the drugs out of these tiny organisms. So when you take the drugs, instead of getting better, you are not getting better. You rather would probably get worse, or you will need a higher medication before you can get better. And so the study is trying to look at children under 5 years that are having diarrhea, to see whether their diarrhea is coming from these organisms. And if they are coming from these organisms, what is the resistant patterns of these organisms, and how best can we treat these children so that they do not die off. In the same way, we are trying to genetically, look at the genetic makeup of these organisms, and to see how come they are resistant to the medications you are giving. And of course, with this kind of a study, you would notice that in the home, it is the mothers that take care of the children. And so if the children get infected, chances are that their mothers can also get infected, because the mothers are the ones that will bathe these children. They are the ones that will feed them. They are the ones that clean them. And in the home setting, children, when they come out from outside, will run to their mothers. And so chances are that the young girls who are home doing the cleaning, or the young girls who are attending to their younger siblings who have been exposed to these diseases, can also pick them up. And sometimes some of these diseases are transferable with the sharing of items at home. And so we trying to look at all these dynamics. And so, that's the most current study I am on at the moment. And girls tend to be the ones at the end of the day who get to suffer sometimes of these infections.
Thank you so much. That sounds so impressive. I must say, it was very inspiring how you use your career by helping today's problems. So, since the explosion of COVID-19, AIDS has been advocating for the increased protection of girls and women. What do you think are the biggest risks for girls and women during this difficult time? We would like to hear your opinion on that.
I think that this era of COVID-19, in fact, it's a pandemic. It just came out of the blue, and affected everybody around the world. So it is not only in Africa, but I feel that the effect of this pandemic has gone beyond what anybody has ever thought of, like that we could, I don't think anybody envisaged that we could get here. And so for the young girl who happens to for a long time be out of school, most countries went on lockdown where people could not go to school, people could not even, they had to get a whole, for us in Ghana, we had almost a year break. The whole of the education system was off, and children or young people had to stay home and study online. And so if you happen to be in a community where you do not have these technology, then that means that you are affected. I know some young girls happen to use the opportunity of not being in school to help their family to raise some money. Some got themselves into jobs where they were working to be able to get some money to keep, to be able to take to school. There were some that had to go and learn to do something. And yet there were others that thought that COVID would never go away. And so it was just a long break for them to just stay home and do nothing. Some also resorted to social media and were doing all kinds of things on social media that didn't really have anything to do with their career or their academics. My biggest fear was the fact that some people would become lazy. Some people would feel okay with just being there and not going to school and lazied about. Some people probably forgot all about school and thought that, school was never going to happen again. But COVID is living with us, and we need to adjust our thinking that COVID or no COVID, the world keeps on moving. And so young girls would need to tell themselves that the world is not staying at one place because of COVID. It is still moving. That was my biggest fear. But now, for us in Ghana, people are back to school. I know for most African countries, people are going to school. Even out there in Europe, in spite of the challenges, people are still going. And life is at least coming back to some form of normalcy for everybody.
Thank you. As we know, women and girls are often the most exposed to the stereotypes and discrimination. Since they are indeed the most affected, do you think that having more girls studying molecular bacteriology and infection and also working in that field and STEM generally can be beneficial? Do you think there are certain jobs that will fit women better than men? Like, for example, gynecologists, counselors, among others?
Um, I I I don't think that there are some jobs that have to be peculiarly like left for women. That women are supposed to just stick to this job, and this job is for men. I think that women are smart, women are confident, women are go-getters, and they should be able to do whatever they want to do. But I think that culturally we have been affected by a lot of the mindset of our culture, like inclines, like what your culture is. And so culturally, women are supposed to be the ones taking care of children. And so let's say you happen to be working in the oil sector, for example, where you are supposed to be on the oil grid for 3 months or maybe 2 weeks continuous and come back after 2 weeks to take a week break. Who takes care of your children? Who takes care of your home? And so I think that it is how our systems or our systems are working that is making certain jobs be left for women. So like a woman becomes a secretary or a woman becomes a nurse so that they can close early, come back home and take care of the family. So the man can be out there and working all night because the man does not breastfeed, The man is not the one cooking. The man is not the one doing a lot of the things, especially the care at home. And so I think that it's our culture that has made things the way it is. But otherwise, a woman should be able to do whatever job, whatever career they set their hearts to. The only thing is that we lack the career guidance, we lack the encouragement along the career path. And so sometimes some women don't even think of what they are getting themselves into. And so once they start along the line, they realize, no, I think I can't do this because I need to settle down. I need to have children. You know, in a setting, I'm sure it's everywhere. At some point in your life, you want to have children of your own. And here you are in a male-dominated environment where you are not given that flexibility of going off work for a year just to take care of a pregnancy and a fresh baby. You are given the same like 3 months leave, whilst the men don't take any leave. They could probably not take any maternity leave or paternity leave. They are constantly working. And so sometimes I think that is the not too flexible systems that we work with. The culture is also affecting. And then also the fact that along the career path, we are not getting that kind of monitoring. That's the word, monitoring along the line, just so you are encouraging the young person as they climb up that this is what you are getting yourself into. You'll be able to make it. You can make it. Don't just lose hope. Don't just give up. And then I think that we do. I'm sure that years past, people never thought that any woman could go to space. Because space, why would you travel all the way to space? What are you going to do there? But I mean, today's world, there are some women that have challenged themselves to become aeronautical engineers or become aerospace engineers. Some people are doing all kinds of wild things. And so I think that you can decide to go for it, you will make it.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, again, thank you for the previous response. It was very interesting hearing your point of view. And now, what job and career opportunities are there for girls and women who want to study environmental science, biological science, and molecular bacteriology and infection?
Okay, so you are asking about career, like what they can do when they have studied these programs.
Yes, like options.
Okay, so whatever you want to do, I mean, I tell my students all the time that whatever you get at your hands to do, you do it to the best of your ability. Because beyond that is whatever that is available that you can go out for and get within the career aspects. I think that if you do any of these programs, biological science, environmental science, um, the molecular bacteriology in an infection is a specialized area, and so it's not something that is a first start that you go for. You always will go for the basics. And so based on the basics, I would say that people could be in academia or be in the academic environment. You can work in the hospital, you can work in environmental research. So you could do academic research, hospital research, environment research. People have moved from doing biological sciences into dentistry. They've gone into medicine. People have gone into ecology, biotechnology. We have people going into the food industry. You could do forensic science. You could get to work in government agencies. You could get to work in non-governmental organizations. Let me tell you an interesting thing. Most of my mates that I left first degree with, I mean, we all studied biological sciences. I could find them in the banks. At one point, we had I think more than 10% of our mates being in the banking sector. And we thought it was like, wow. And the banks wanted them more than they would want those who were straight accountants. Why? Because when you study a STEM program, you get to have this ability to solve problems. You know, that analytical mindset that you tend to have. Your you are very strong in your decision making. You are very strong in your goal getting. You are very strong in your objectives and sticking to timelines and stuff like that, because you cannot be a science student and do things anyhow. And so they were more preferred over those that did those business related courses, of course, except those that have done specialties. And so you could go into banking, you could go into, anything that you think. You said engineering is also another area where you could even venture when you have studied any of the courses that I have done.
Thank you so much. And now, the last but not least question. Was there a particular time when where the challenges were so big that you wanted to give up?
That it's not like I wanted to give up at an early stage. Like I told you early on, I was encouraged along the path, and I happened to get mentors who pushed me on whenever I felt down. But the only time I wanted to give up was when I felt so overwhelmed with work. Um, at a point where I was doing my PhD, my wanting to stop at some point didn't come when I just started, like maybe early career um, path. No, because like I said early on, I got all the support from home first of all, and then I also had senior colleagues, I had mentors, I had support from people around that pushed me on in trying to achieve all that I wanted to achieve. But along the path where I felt low, of course, it's part of life, was when I wanted to go do a PhD, and that is when it became difficult. I had started it. In fact, when I started the PhD, I think I had my son, my very first child, and then I got pregnant with the second on it, on whilst I had enrolled on the PhD. And so along the PhD path, I had two children, and that was not easy, especially when you had to leave your children and travel out to Europe for 3 months continuous without my children. And I'm there alone. You are working in the lab. And sometimes I could stay in the lab for 19 hours. The whole day, trying to get stuff finished. And then when you are done with all that, you come back and it's a failed experiment. It was so heartbreaking. And I had to do things all over again. And at a point, I just was like, no, this PhD thing is not for me. And but anytime I felt like throwing in the towel, you always would have people around you that would encourage you to move on. And the fact that it's like that, life is like that. When the lemons are given you or thrown at you, life gives you lemons. You don't throw the lemons away because you can't just drink the lemons, but you can make lemonade out of it, make it into something better. And so I happened to have people around that encouraged me, that moved me on. My father, my number one cheerleader, that's how I call him. He was always there pushing you on. My husband was there, my supervisors, my senior colleagues, my mentors in the university, my friends, my family, because people were excited that I was trying to attain a terminal degree. And so anytime you make up your mind to do something, yes, the challenges would come. But of course, who is with you along that career path? Who is advising you? Who is urging you on? And who is encouraging you Once you have all these people around you, I bet you there is nothing that you cannot do. And so, whilst I was on the PhD, I had two more adding on to the one that I had. And so you can just imagine how challenging that would be. But in all of it, it ended up well and good.
Thank you. Now is the end of this episode. If someone has any question or comment, I open the microphone. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and thank you to our guests for giving such interesting and inspiring talk show, and also sharing with us all her experience as a STEM woman. I am so very happy and glad to be here and have done this interview. I invite girls who are watching this to register at our mentoring program at our website, which I will let in the chat box. That is stem.hnetwork.org. And also, if you know someone that could be interested, please help us share our program so we can make a change together. Do you want to say something more, Doctor?
So I just wanted to say that it's it's always good to surround yourself with people that would encourage you, people that would help guide the career path. And I think that you are doing a good job in always trying to get these young girls to um, feel cared for, and to feel that you can always find people that would encourage them along whatever career path that they want to go. I would want to encourage the organizers to continue in bringing mentors into the path of these children, or young girls, and they are not children, they are young girls. And also the fact that they can always have somewhere to run to when they are loaded with the problems of society, especially as they choose to go the path. And also, I would also encourage that we we get these young girls to get to listen to them and their problems or the difficulties they face, so that at least we will be able to get to help them as early as possible, instead of losing them along the career path before we think that there's something that could have been done. And so kudos to the organizers for this that you are doing, and to assure you that I'm always here. If you need me to do anything, I'll be glad to help, just to get our girls to also be like us, or even better.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for having me today, and
Okay. Uh, I will continue with the presentation. And here's a quote that says that by learning to create technology, girls can learn to speak up, by Regina, the founder of Ghana-based Soronko Solutions. This show was hosted by African Girls Empowerment Network, H Network. Here are our focus areas. We talked about them in the introduction before, and all the questions were like guided to these focus areas. The show is part of eight STEM Girls Initiative Girls Education focus areas. Um, the mission of our talk show in resume is to inspire, connect, and answer. If you want to get involved, you can become a STEM girl, a mentor volunteer, a partner friend, a donor, or even an ambassador. Here is our social media in case you want to join the movement. We invite you to talk to us if you want to be part of our program. And it is all. Thank you so much for your attention. I was very happy for being here. Thank you, doctor. And I just wanted to tell you that that was very inspiring for me. It was a pleasure. I am a student in engineering, and that led me like a lot of things that I will try to apply in my daily life.
I think it's good. It's a good thing you guys are doing, and for you as a student, I think it's a good opportunity also to also know a lot more from a lot other people. I'm sure as a young woman, you've also faced your own challenges along the career path of getting into STEM programs, but it's all well and good. I think that all is well that ends well, and provided you are focused and you are intentional in what you are doing, you would always make it.
Thank you. Yes. In fact, I work for H Network as a volunteer. I am from Mexico, and this experience is very like different, but I am learning a lot.
Yes, I think it's a good opportunity. Which year are you?
I am at university, like in my second year.
In your second year university. Yes. So I think that for you to, I mean, at least host the talk show, it's all part of building up the or improving on the confidence that young girls have. I mean, once you are not given the opportunity, you feel you don't have anything to offer. But the moment you are given the challenge, you get to push yourself. I mean, I'm a product of people giving me opportunity in doing what they saw in me that I probably didn't see in myself. And once they gave you that opportunity and you perform, the next time you just will know that, oh, I mean, you have it in you, and you'll be able to do it. I think what these are young girls are lacking is the fact that they feel it's so far away from them. It's like, I mean, when will I get to be the doctor? I mean, how will I be a doctor? I mean, the current circumstances doesn't make it look like it's ever possible. But once they have people pushing them and, I mean, cheering them on, just like you're watching your favorite athlete run in the tracks. I mean, the moment they hear that particular voice they are used to, it's like magic, and then they just will push on. And so I think that with the little help that we give, people would also will take up the challenge and want to get into STEM, if not for us, for future, because otherwise it's just going to continue to be a man's world. And wherever the women are, they tend to rise quickly, and they are smart. Women are smart. For me, I always say women are smarter than men, but it's just that we don't get encouraged to stay on being smart.
Okay, thank you so much again. Hope to see you in the next programs, like a Zoom meet or another talk show. I will be pleased to be in here again. And thank you so much again. The video will be uploaded, I think, like done tomorrow or maybe the next year, the next days. I was going to say years, I don't know why. But thank you so much again. I think that is one of the talk shows that I have most like liked. Well, have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Same to you. Thank you very much for having me. And I want to say thank you to all the people I've bothered with all the writing and all the little things. I'll be happy to be called on to do anything else. So just let me know if you need me to do anything.
Yes, thank you. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.